The chaos began the moment the billionaire heiress stepped out of her silver Maybach and the cameras snapped toward the man stepping out behind her. Nobody expected her to bring a date. Nobody expected that date to be a quiet, worn-out single dad with tired eyes and a thrift store suit. But the real shock didn't hit until the groom, polished, perfect, and moments away from marrying her sister, looked at the man and froze, his face draining of color in the golden daylight. In the middle of the blooming garden venue, with petals falling like slow-motion snow, the groom whispered a single word under his breath, a word nobody expected, a word that made every head turn. Boss. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Everyday kindness, and to support more beautiful stories like this. What nobody knew was that the man beside the billionaire was not her boyfriend. His name was Callan Royce, a humble, exhausted construction foreman and full-time single father to a 7-year-old girl named Marley, who thought her father hung the moon. Callan was the kind of man who kept his struggles quiet, who always gave more than he had, who thought life was meant to be endured rather than enjoyed. He had lost his wife 3 years earlier, and since then, every paycheck had vanished into rent, school fees, groceries, and keeping an old car alive. He was used to blending into the background, unnoticed and unimportant, until fate placed him on the path of Serafina Vale, a woman whose name everyone knew, philanthropist, tech mogul, business genius, and the elder daughter of the powerful Vale family. A woman known for her composure and heart, even under the harshest lights. It happened on a bright Thursday morning when Callan was repairing the entryway floor of a community center that Serafina had personally funded. She arrived unannounced for an inspection, and instead of offering polite small talk, she knelt beside him to hand him tools, asking about his work and his daughter with a sincerity that startled him. Those small moments formed a quiet bond, one built on curiosity from her side and disbelief from his. She called him refreshingly honest. He called her far too kind for her world. She laughed, telling him that kindness wasn't weakness. Her mother had taught her that kindness was the sharpest strength a person could have. And somewhere in that warmth, Serafina discovered that Callan had once been the supervisor of the now infamous groom-to-be, Arcian Holt, who had abruptly quit Callan's construction team years earlier after stealing equipment and damaging a reputation Callan had spent years building. The event had shattered Callan's workplace credibility, making it harder for him to find stable work afterward. Arcian had moved on, charming his way up the social ladder until he landed in the list of prominent entrepreneurs, hiding a trail of broken bridges behind him. Serafina hadn't forgotten the story. Not when her sister announced she was marrying Arcian, not when her gut twisted with a truth she couldn't fully grasp. So when her mother insisted she bring a partner to the wedding to avoid media gossip, she made a choice that seemed reckless to the world but felt right in her heart. She asked Callan, a man who would never pretend to be something he wasn't, a man who would walk into a world of diamonds and gold with nothing but his sincerity. And Callan, terrified of being out of place, terrified of embarrassing her, almost refused. But when Serafina told him she believed his presence would anchor her, that she wanted someone beside her who wasn't there for appearances, he finally agreed. Marley insisted on helping him choose his suit, though in the end it was the only one he owned, pressed 3 times in hope rather than expectation. The wedding day arrived under a bright, cloudless sky, the sun spilling across the Vale family estate like liquid gold. The gardens were alive with fresh white roses, crystal fountains, and silk-draped arches that looked like something from a fairy tale. Callan felt wildly out of place, his shoes too stiff, his breath too shallow. People murmured as they walked past, gossiping, speculating about the mysterious man on Serafina's arm. But Serafina walked with confidence, her hand lightly touching his sleeve, as if to reassure him that he belonged there just as much as anyone else. She wore a pale champagne dress that glowed in daylight, her hair pinned with tiny pearls, yet her presence was gentle rather than intimidating. Callan felt a strange mix of pride and fear walking beside her, knowing he would never be enough for this world, yet somehow wanting to protect her from it. Then everything shifted when Archeon, tall and smug in an immaculate beige suit, turned to greet them. The moment he saw Kaelin, his confident smile faltered. The smirk vanished. His throat tightened. His eyes widened with disbelief and old guilt. And in a whisper, meant only for Callan but heard by Serafina as well, he muttered the word that shattered his own facade. Boss. The tension rippled through Archeon's shoulders like a crack. Callan stood quietly, unsure whether to be embarrassed or vindicated. Serafina watched sharply, silently confirming everything she had feared about the man her sister was about to marry. She had hoped she was wrong. She wasn't. As the afternoon ceremonies progressed, the sunlight shifted gently across the stone pathways, illuminating moments that should have been beautiful, but were instead threaded with unease. Callan noticed Archeon avoiding him, deliberately steering away whenever their paths crossed. The man who once destroyed Callan's reputation now quivered under his presence. Serafina saw it too, noticing the cracks in Archeon's polished demeanor, the strain behind his smile, the way he grew agitated whenever guests praised the Vale family or mentioned Callan politely. It was as though Archeon feared that at any second Callan would expose him. But Callan didn't want revenge. He didn't want drama. He only wanted the day to be peaceful, and for Serafina's sister, Malus Vale, to have the wedding she dreamed of. Yet life had already begun unraveling threads no one could stop. During the reception in the bright courtyard filled with daytime lanterns and soft live music, Serafina's father approached Callan to thank him for accompanying his daughter. Their small talk seemed harmless until Archeon, panicked and sweating, barged into the conversation and attempted to discredit Callan in a desperate frenzy. His words spiraled wildly, revealing unintentional truths about his past misdeeds. The more he talked, the worse it became. Guests began whispering. Milas's face paled as she listened, realizing the man she was marrying had layers she had never seen. The sunshine above seemed to blur into a hazy glow as emotions surged and bruised hearts cracked open. Callan wished it wasn't happening. He never wanted to be the center of chaos, never wanted to be responsible for a heartbreaking revelation. But Serafina stepped forward, her presence steady and fierce, reminding her family and the guests that truth was better revealed than buried. Malus, shaken but dignified, made the decision to pause the wedding before vows were exchanged. Her eyes were full of tears, not because of Callan, but because of the deception she had been living in without realizing it. Archeon left the venue in humiliation, shading his face from the daylight as photographers caught the collapse of his carefully crafted persona. Callan stood awkwardly, feeling guilty for something he hadn't intended. But Milas surprised him when she gently thanked him, not for exposing Archeon, but for showing her the truth she needed to see before it was too late. As the emotional weight lifted, the Vale family chose to transform the ruined wedding into a warm, daytime family gathering. Serafina remained close by Callan's side, noticing the way the sunlight softened the edges of his worry. Her parents welcomed him with genuine gratitude, offering him food, conversation, and even laughter after the emotional storm had passed. Callan found himself relaxing for the first time in years. It felt surreal, sitting among people who saw him not as a broken man, but as someone worthy of respect and kindness. The turning point came when Serafina brought over a small cake for him, smiling softly as she told him that Marley had sent her a voice message earlier saying, "Tell my daddy he looks like a prince today." Callan's eyes stung with unexpected tears, and Serafina placed a gentle hand on his shoulder as if grounding him. There, under the glow of the afternoon sun, something unspoken shifted between them, something delicate, tender, and growing. Over the following hours, Callan began to understand that Serafina didn't see him as a charity case or a temporary date. She saw him as a man deserving of gentleness, strength, and companionship. A man who could bring honesty into a world clouded by pretense. And Serafina, despite her status, found solace in his sincerity. Callan wasn't intimidated by her wealth or power. He treated her like a person, not a pedestal. That alone made her heart unfold in ways she didn't expect. The day ended with soft golden light spilling across the estate as Callan walked Serafina to the garden fountain. People were still talking, laughing, healing. Mylis stayed close to her parents, held tightly but lovingly, as they promised her better days ahead. Callan wished he could offer more, but Serafina squeezed his arm gently and told him he had already offered the one thing this family needed today: clarity. As the final rays of sunlight touched the gardens, this story became something far larger than a ruined wedding. It became a reminder that kindness truly does change lives, that second chances often come in unexpected forms, and that sometimes the most powerful relationships start quietly, with two people holding space for each other. If this story touched your heart even a little, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Everyday Kindness, so we can continue bringing beautiful stories to you. Before you go, write in the comments what kindness means to you. Your words might inspire someone who really needs it today. And with that, the day ended not in heartbreak but in hope, proving that the right people enter our lives at the right time, and sometimes all it takes is one act of courage to change everything.